Hey, Rick. Yeah, I know.
Doctor told me.
Okay. Got your Irish green on. Good for you.
Yeah.
I'd like to call the March 2nd town meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone who has cell phones and stuff, can you put them on airplane mode or turn them off, please, or turn them all the way down so they don't interrupt the meeting? Future meetings. Rain Barrel Workshop is Tuesday, March the 3rd. I guess it's tomorrow. Here at 6 p.m. at the town office. Arbor Day tree planting event will be Saturday, April 4th at 9 a.m. in the community park. Town council meeting, the next one will be Monday, April the 6th at 7:30 p.m. Is there any other meetings in the month of March? Anybody? No parks? No? Citizens Advisory? None in March? Sir. Alrighty. Hearing none. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. This is just a little different procedure tonight, but good evening. On behalf of myself, the town commissioners, and the staff, town staff, like you, we have a concern with regards to the potential spread of coronavirus. We're not a medical board and don't proclaim to be anywhere close to it, but we do have a responsibility for the care of the community. Our responsibility in this matter to date and going forward will be in communicating any information we have with regard and assisting in any way we can necessary where the future, where it may be needed. The most important thing for us all to do is stay calm, informed, with an extra emphasis on the precautionary advice of our doctors and nationally the Center for Disease Control for our annual flus, which is wash your hands, adequate hydration, adequate sleep, cover your nose when sneezing and coughing, and stay home when sick. For the latest White House report this afternoon, there are 43 cases of the virus in the country and 6 deaths. That may have changed since I've last heard. Here's what we're doing. We have spoken to the pastors of our local churches, many of them. Requester spoke to principals of our elementary schools and spoke with the president of the Mount to learn from them and also offer assistance in any way we can for their preparedness. And we have our good neighbors, FEMA, and Homeland Security to help us in our needs. Our town manager has been given the authority to send home anyone who is deemed to have any flu-like symptoms. And that's where we're starting for, and we hope any businesses out there will do the same. Posted on our social media were the Center for Disease Control with their remarks, which were basically that wash your hands, hydrate, as I've already mentioned. Last week we met with Todd Johnson, Public Health Emergency Planner with the county. He is a state employee, but he's down with the county, and we will become a closed point of dispensing if there is an emergency. That means that the staff here will have a main line to get materials they need, so we don't compete with anybody in our community if it becomes necessary at the dispensing points, and we can go into that at a later date. Remember, our first line of preparedness is the common flu. So far this year, it's estimated 32 million Americans have contracted the flu. That's 1 in 10. So far, 20,000 of us have died this year. Stick to the basics, and that's the first steps of anything that'll come our way in the future. So if you need any more information on this, I'll guide you. Go to your doctors. Listen to. We'll try to get everything we can out to you as soon as possible. But thank you very much. I hope that we had some clarity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay. Approval of the meeting minutes for February the 3rd.
I make a motion to accept the meeting minutes as presented from the February 3rd town meeting.
Motion's been made by Commissioner O'Donnell. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you.
Second by Commissioner Burns. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any nays? Motion carries 5-0. Police report. Deputy.
Good evening, Deputy Whitehouse with the Sheriff's Office. This is the February monthly report. Let's see here. You can see the bulk of the calls we had with in February were 911 calls. We had almost 20 of those. A lot of patrol checks under the proactive enforcement for our traffic stats. We had 151 stops last month. You can see the citations we issued, almost 80 and about 100 or almost 200 warnings. We had 7 traffic arrests, and we had arrested one subject for a warrant, outstanding warrant. Deputy Holt attended the town meeting last month. And under the additional information, there was a heroin overdose at the McDonald's. I believe it was in the drive-through. The subject survived, but they didn't want to give us any kind of information, any information at all. So we addressed a traffic complaint. There was some the stop signs behind the firehouse and on the other one on West Lincoln by the pool. So we hit that pretty good for a couple days and stopped quite a few cars, probably up around near 50. There was a mini excavator theft. It was like a small backhoe. I think it was behind or 602 East Main. I'd like to thank Ms. Ray for getting that out for us on the town site and on the Facebook page. Don't have any information on it yet. Just watched kind of a lot of video from like the Jubilee and all that, see if we could find anything. No luck yet. And I also helped out with the funeral escort through town. So that's it for the report. Is there any questions from me?
Any questions with the deputy?
I had one.
Yes.
I assume the two incidents on the last Monday of January are still in pending investigation.
The pending investigation. I did file charges for one.
Okay.
And the other, I have to think back of what exactly that was.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Thank you, Deputy White.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Town manager's report.
Good evening. This is the manager's report for January of 2020. I'll highlight some of the key areas in my report. Related to streets, outside of the monthly duties, the staff and a contractor repaired streetlights in Silo Hill. They replaced some signs around town. Staff came in twice for snow and ice events. And a contractor removed 7 trees on town property at 8703 Crystal Fountain Road, which were deemed to be hazardous. Related to parks, they conducted their daily park checks as well as their monthly park checks. Rainbow Lake is currently at the spillway level of 16.6 feet. Water production, we produced an average of 267,404 gallons per day and consumed an average of 233,974 gallons per day. The difference is backwash water at 13.5%. We were able to meet our lake quota at 64.2% of the water came from the lake in the month of January. We purchased 447,450 gallons of water from the Mount. Related to wastewater, we received approximately 3.8 inches of precipitation. However, we are in a deficit of about an inch. We treated an average of 714,000 gallons per day and consumed 233,974 gallons per day, which means 67% of the wastewater treated at the plant was wild water. We did have one spill of untreated sewage in the month of January. It was followed up from a lot of rain, significant amount of rain in a short period of time. We did exceed the plant's design capacity 5 times in the month of January as well. Below there, you'll see highlighted the meetings that I attended in the month of January. As you can see, January was extremely busy for myself and staff. Some noteworthy items: staff attended and completed CPR training. Staff worked with Milani, the contractor of the bridge. They had dug up and repaired a sewer service at 401 East Main Street. Staff dug up and repaired a water leak on North Seaton Avenue, which averaged about 5 to 10 gallons per minute loss. At the pump station, we had to rebuild, seal a water pump motor, and install a new breaker. Prep work began on the sewer relining project, which was then completed in the early part of February, or mid-February, excuse me. All town-owned backflow preventers have been checked and replaced if it was necessary. Waynesboro Pike water line repair, the boring was scheduled for February 20th of 2020. That work has since been successfully completed. Estimates right now are between about a 20 to 25 gallon per minute loss, which we believe had been leaking for several years. The pressure reducing valves at Fraley Road and Timber Mill Run were repaired. The sump pump on Fraley Road has been repaired. As a result of some of the meetings with the county, well 3 was found to be slightly more aggressive than the other wells with a higher level of alkalinity. So staff has turned off well 3 and brought on well number 4 and number 5, which had a much better alkalinity. Conversations with MDE. MDE is not in support of adding orthophosphate to the water. Extra phosphate has to be removed at the wastewater treatment plant, and once it's started, it can't be stopped. Their recommendation is to continue to control it with pH increase, which seems to be working. And I have one note from the town clerk. On Saturday, May 2nd, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. is the Emmitsburg Green Fest. Be celebrating the 50th anniversary of Earth Day in the community park through activities, demonstrations focused on sustainability and being green. The event is free to the public. Will feature food, ice cream, music, face painting, petting zoos, vendors, arts, crafts, projects for kids, complimentary document shredding, paint recycling, demonstrations on tree care, composting, rain gardens, electric vehicles, and more. We'll continue to add information to our website as it becomes available. And that's all I have.
Any questions for the town manager at this time? Commissioner Ritz?
I had a few just regarding overall general, regarding the status of water, any more complaints received for brown water since our actions have been put into place?
No, we have not had any complaints since January.
Okay, that's good news. Mr. Fluke at the last meeting had some questions regarding timelines. Were they addressed?
For
Timeline for water repair.
the water line repair is
line
complete
repair.
on Waynesboro Pike, the one underneath the road. That one has finally been completed. North Seaton's been fixed. Tract Road will be done as soon as the weather's better. Waynesboro Pike is a lot more involved, with staff having to look into loans, and then with it being outside the town limits, it's not eligible for any funding. There's some things that we need to look into. I just reached out to the town attorney today to look into that.
Okay, I remember he just had specific questions last meeting.
He never followed up with me, so I don't recall what they were,
Okay.
honestly.
Status of grants and loans and such, any more updates on those?
The grants have been submitted.
Just
We won't hear from MD for probably, on North Seaton and DePaul Street will be about a year before we hear from them. The loan for Waynesboro Pike, I believe, gets submitted in the spring. I just reached out to DCHD today.
Okay, great. And just one more. What are we increasing to increase the pH? My understanding was that orthophosphate did do that. So what are we using
No.
in lieu of orthophosphate?
No, orthophosphate is something they add to the water that will then coat the inside of the affected areas in the water line.
Correct.
Where it is corroded. That's not what phosphate, or the pH is just a chemical addition.
Okay.
It's the phosphorus. This is orthophosphate. This will
Phosphate.
just coat the line.
Okay.
MDE did not seem to be a big fan of it and did not want to see us do it. So everything that we've done so far has been working.
Great, thank you. I thought that also raised the alkalinity, but I was mistaken.
No, apparently not, no.
Okay,
Mr. Sweeney?
that's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Just to clarify, thank you, sir, sorry. So just to clarify, we've been aligned with what the MDE has advised regarding the treatment of the water and also the, correct me with the pronunciation, tuberculation of the pipes?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
terrific, thank you.
Is that it?
Yes, sir, that's it.
Commissioner Davis? Good. Commissioner Brown? Good. I'm also, I just have one question. I know you just said we built a pump on the pump station. Who do we get all of our parts and stuff from? Is it from Taneytown? I didn't know if it's locally or not. to do all
No,
the
we have
pump work.
outside vendors that we utilized. I don't know off the top of my head who they got the pump from.
Okay. I do know that Taneytown sells the pumps. I mean, they do repairs and stuff for the other municipalities.
Right. I believe we use an outside vendor.
Okay. I didn't know who we got them from. I was just wondering. Thank you.
Mr. Sweeney?
Commissioner O'Donnell?
In my capacity as treasurer, I've signed some checks for those replacement parts. Some have come from Maryland, some have come from Pennsylvania, and there was one well out of state, and unfortunately I can't recall where it was from. I want to say, and gosh, I want to say one of the Carolinas, but I don't recall. This is a little while ago. This is not in the past 30 days or so. But some money is being spent in state, some in Pennsylvania and elsewhere.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
The town planners report?
Good evening, everybody. This is the Town Planner's Report for January of 2020. As with Kathy, I'm going to just highlight a few key areas. Under Board of Commissioners, I wrote the Maryland Department of Transportation letter regarding the proposed park and ride and Maryland 140 sidewalk extension requests. Under grants, I met with the Sustainable Communities Board on the 8th to review 2020 Community Legacy grant applications. We processed 4 grant approval letters and grant agreements for community legacy grants. Continued working with the Frederick County Arts Council for the pool house mural. Continued working on the community development block grant for ADA compliant curb ramps. Continued working on the Chesapeake Bay Trust grant for the North Seaton Avenue Green Street concept plan. Miscellaneous census grant management. Created maps for the water line replacement grant. Under MS4, processed bids for the Silo Hill Stormwater Management Basin Restoration Project. Continued working with Streamlink and Daughters of Charity for the tree planting project. And regarding the tree planting project, I attended the Chesapeake Tree Canopy Summit on the 14th and 15th. Under permits and zoning, I processed the following zoning applications: 1 deck, 1 roof, 2 signs, and the zoning permit for Duncan. 6 cross connection permits, 1 grease trap, 1 alteration of infrastructure, 1 street closure. Under Planning Commission, I attended the Planning Commission meeting on the 27th and processed those meeting materials, received and started processing the Insurance Brokers of Maryland site plan. Under Miscellaneous, I updated the sidewalk connectivity map on the website, attended half-day CPR training, attended a Green Team meeting, Miscellaneous Earth Day event preparation. For census, I completed the 2020 initial boundary validation form, renewed the town's grading permit for the stockpile yard, prepared fiscal year 21 department budget, and worked with Senator Howell's office regarding small business tax credit. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions for the town planner? Hearing none.
Just a quick one.
Oh, Commissioner Burns?
Duncan, in the past meetings, we thought they were going to start in early February. Is there a timeline for that yet?
So they just applied for their Frederick County building permit, and we should be having a groundbreaking ceremony within the next 2 months. So we'll make sure we email all of you to be in attendance of that.
Same with Rudders.
Rudders, I'm not sure.
Not that quick.
Okay.
Pretty soon.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll move on. Commissioner comments. Commissioner O'Donnell.
Yes, sir, thank you. I attended a Community Heritage Day meeting related to planning for Community Heritage Day on June 27th, and the ball is rolling. It is going to be a good one, and the involvement is strong, it appears. There will be a run again this year, which is great. It was not there last year, but was the year before. So we have the whole triathlon thing, but backwards, bike, run, swim. Okay, moving from there. The trail days are coming up. There's one trail day this month on the 15th. I invite any organization in town who wants to participate to please contact me. Also, for anyone interested in cycling off-road, there is a bike demonstration from Pivot on March 22nd. These will both be on the trails near Rainbow Lake. If you have any questions, please contact me. The company coming in is Pivot. They make very nice bikes, and they are a treat to ride. Moving from there, I attended the County Bicycle and Pedestrian Action Committee meeting. They went on behalf of all communities in Frederick County, including Emmitsburg, to the state to lobby for funding for more projects and in Frederick County for pedestrians and for cycling, both as for recreational purposes as well as for commuting purposes. And let's see. I want to compliment town staff on their successes with the water. I think we all know the pressure that we felt related to responding to the community. I know certainly there is more work to be done. My hat's off to town staff for the successes they've had, and we look forward to hearing about more. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner Ritz,
I have none.
Commissioner Davis.
Opening day for Little League in Emmitsburg will be April 7th. It'll be Tuesday evening. The regular opening day will be in Thurmont on April 4th, and then they'll have opening day here in Emmitsburg. They're planning a little festivity, not quite exactly sure what. Looking for someone to sing the national anthem. I tried the mayor out today. That didn't work out so well, so I'm still looking. So if you know of anybody that would like to sing for us that evening, that'd be great, but we hope to have a lot of people there. That's all I got.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Burns.
I'd also like to commend town staff on their handling of everything with the brown water recently. I think they've done an unbelievable job communicating, sending out updates, emails to many of the residents, and have heard a lot of positive feedback concerning that. Also got to attend the Blue and Gold banquet for the Boy Scouts Troop 270 down in Thurmont with Mayor Briggs as well as Mayor Kennard. It was a nice event, and locally one of the performance companies, ESP, out of Thurmont that has many Emmitsburg residents, also performed at Mount St. Mary's recently, and it was a pleasure to be there for that as well.
Thank you. I also want to commend the town staff and all the work they've been doing on the water situation. They don't realize, everybody doesn't realize how much work goes into that. You can only do it during the daytime. So, and it's been a lot. I also want to thank Mr. Davis for the Little League coming to town, and he mentioned to me this evening that we got new roofs put on the concession stand and the shed, to the sheds, which was donated by the Thurmont Little League.
One of the parents, PJ Roofing.
Yeah, that was nice for them to do. On the Town Heritage Day, I was also at the meeting with Commissioner O'Donnell. The Frisbee Golf opening day will be on our Community Heritage Day.
I believe that's what they're planning.
Yes, which will be good because I'll use the whole back end of the park.
Right.
So that'll be good. That's coming along well too. So we're getting everything tied together with the Heritage Day. I also I don't know if everybody knows, but there's two lights that you guys put, two new lights in town. I don't know if you want anybody to see them.
Yeah, there's one. What's the address, Commissioner Davis?
30.
30 West Main, and then in front of
4105
Carrick
Carrick Court.
Right. So staff and I met with a vendor, and we're going to hopefully proceed with looking to get a grant for new LED lighting throughout town. So the contractor installed two new lights that we kind of wanted to get everybody's opinion, what they thought of them. And they'll be up for a while now. If you haven't taken a look, you know.
If anybody wants to go look there, they can just go look at them, the town's
Right.
Stop
citizens.
in, I need help with the yard work.
That's all I have.
Yeah, may I have a-
Mr. Mayor, you're next.
Thank you very much. Just a couple of things this month. It was a longer month, but it went pretty quick. I attended the Board of Education meeting down in Frederick. Spoke on behalf of keeping the Sevillersville Elementary School open, and there will be another hearing scheduled, and I think it's March 11th at Catoctin High, and we have a, is that right?
1 year. They've extended for 1 year now.
Oh, they have, okay, it's already being extended for 1 year, so that's good to know. It's our county's only 5-star rated elementary school, and we want to close it. And it's the only asset in that area, infrastructure the county has up there in that area. And it was kind of interesting. I was down at that meeting in this Taj Mahal, the Board of Education building, and over here block was $120 million. Wonderful Carroll Creek Linear Park, but we need some investment up in these areas, and that's the only thing they have for seniors to meet and all their groups to meet up there, as well as the students. We did find a gardener for the square, a volunteer gardener, and everybody can assist her if they would not keep flicking cigarettes or putting them in the flower beds and their trash and things like that. It would make it a lot easier, our journey through having a wonderful town. Along with Commissioner Burns, I did attend the Blue and Gold Banquet in Thurmont, PAC 270, and it was a wonderful afternoon. Mount St. Mary's University Athletic Advisors Committee, I'm a member of that, and I attended their meeting. They're really very interested in what the experience is of the student athlete here and what the quality of their education is. And they put particular emphasis on this, unlike some schools with, no, I won't say that. But anyway, it's just that they really work hard and they're very interested in what their student athletes go through, the feedback and everything like that. Attended the EBPA breakfast. John Fiesler was Director of Tourism, spoke, along with Commissioner Davis was there also. And went to the Maryland Municipal League Frederick County chapter dinner last Thursday night, and as usual, there's information there. I can share at a later date. Today, Commissioner Davis and I read NEA's Reading Across America Certificate of Appreciation. Unfortunately, Commissioner Davis, he didn't get his. Did you get? He left his.
Oh, I gotta go back next week.
No, but we had a wonderful day over there where we read to younger kids, and like the feedback and questioning there is profound. We have to explain these 2020 things, or were you planning to do that later? A little bit about it, but
No, that's all you.
no, I'll let you go. We have our census coming up, and for the next 10 years, the number of people we have here in town, we will get a certain amount of money for over that time. And I think last year we got 70-some%. I mean, last 10 years we got 70-some% of the people lived here. And I'm in competition with the Thurmont mayor to see who'll do better. He had 84 last year, but really it's about money that funds into our town, and it's very important we get a count here. And students who live here during the year count. So we want we're asking the university to help us round them up, the ones that have been here, and that'll help our count there. But it's very important this happen, and I'm sure you can add to this. Ken, you have anything you want to add, staff? Or?
Well,
Go ahead.
Zach and I, we got a grant for the shirts, the banners you're going to see around town, and our goal is to increase participation in the census this year. As the mayor said, everybody counts, and it helps funnel state and federal funding to the town that's desperately needed to pay for a lot of our infrastructure projects. We're going to be hosting some meetings at the town office. We're going to be offering some giveaways. We're partnering with the Seton Center. So stay tuned for a lot of different events that the town's going to hold. And
One last thing, I think the most noteworthy thing to say is if you have a P.O. box, which is almost 600 people within our town, you will not receive a census mailer. It's really weird. It's a really strange thing that the federal government does. However, we're partnering with Frederick County Census Committee, and we will be putting in the mailers to those P.O. boxes. So if you know of someone, please let them know.
Right.
Please fill out your census when you get your form. They're going to be sent out on the 12th of this month. You have until July 31st. If you don't take it by April, end of April, you're going to be getting a knock on your door, and they'll keep knocking until you take it. So we're aiming for a goal of at least 85%. So please take the census.
Any questions?
want to beat Thurmont.
Any questions, Commissioner O'Donnell?
Not a question, but a comment. I'll share again that I did attend the MML census presentation by the Census Bureau folks, and they were very explicit about some things. The number of people we get ties directly into the funding we have for services, and we can't emphasize that enough. The P.O. Box saying, brilliant, it's great the town is doing that. I think that's profoundly important. One thing to give consideration to is sometimes you will hear the complaint, as commissioners we do, of not enough retail in town. If only we had an X, whatever it is they want, they would like to see it here. Well, not only does the federal government use these numbers, but retailers use this number. They do their own research, don't get me wrong, but they do this and they look for the snapshot of the current population, but also they look for the trend. And as we well know here, the trend has been expanding the number, not diminishing the number. So it's very valuable to us, not just for the services funding, but as well as potentially inviting more retail to our community or nearer to our community. So hopefully we can address those things. The other item is if you've been through Jubilee recently, you know that they're still hiring. And the hourly is $21 an hour, which is substantial. So if folks are looking for a position, it seems like a very equitable process. And $21 an hour is certainly a good thing. And I think the word was one sets their own hours. They'll do training locally here in town. And they get paid on a weekly basis. So this is a really positive thing for folks who want to supplement their income or folks who are looking to get an entry-level position with the federal government, because that, too, is a very good resume builder. And when one works for the Fed, it is a positive resume builder, but also it sets the stage for other qualified and quality federal positions. So food for thought.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Real quick question.
Commissioner Ritz.
To tie into what Zach was saying regarding the P.O. boxes, so these are official mailers for the census that are coming to the town office, and then the town office is taking care of them?
No, so you'll be receiving a postcard, that's the bigger postcard from the Census Bureau. And what we're doing is the Census Committee of Frederick County is going to be creating pretty much the same exact document. And we're going to be, the grant's going to be paying for the mailer.
Okay.
So we'll be putting it in. The post office charges, I think it's 19 cents per mailer. So they'll be actually putting in each P.O. box.
Okay. Because most of us in town, we have to have a post office box. We don't
Exactly.
we don't get delivery. Right?
So your actual mailer will come from the town as opposed from the Census Bureau.
All right.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Commissioner Davis?
No, good.
Commissioner Brown? I'm fine too. Thank you for all your work on the census stuff, and hopefully everybody will fill them out. Alrighty, on to the next item, public comment. Diane Walbecker.
Diane Walbrecker, 535 West Main Street. I don't have any virus, and I've been on a course of antibiotics, but I'm coughing a lot. But I'm not sick. First of all, I had no idea that the census was not being mailed to post office boxes, so that's really good information. Was that in the newsletter that came out on the email?
It was. Yeah.
Was it? Okay.
Briefly
'cause
discussed. Yeah.
I saw the email newsletter, and I was really happy about that because I also read the minutes from the Citizens Advisory Committee, so I know that was one of the so I know that was one of the recommendations. So I think that's great. I also appreciate what the mayor just said about coronavirus. I think that's really good. And I guess that's it. Is there a sign in the post office that says you will be getting you will not be mailed from the official census? That might be important to publicize that more, because I missed it in the newsletter.
Yeah, we'll be putting that on Facebook and definitely our website. We're going to be, in our budget that we have for the grant, we are going to be blasting Facebook
Okay.
for many, many months.
Okay.
So we'll make sure everybody will know.
Okay. That's really important to know. So thank you. I think that's it for now.
Water bill newsletter goes out at the
Oh,
end of
that's
March.
right.
And then our water bill newsletter goes out at the end of March, when water bills go out, so look for that, all the information in there as well.
Alrighty, thank you. Well, the second name here, I got the first is Tim, but I don't know if it's Bishop or Bizer. I mean, I can't read the last name.
Bieber, and that was just in case I need to speak later.
Okay. The last name is Joe Cece? Same. All right, so you're on here on Riders? Okay. All righty. Administrative business. Presentation by Nicholas Lowe for Boy Scouts for installation of a handicap accessible table at the community park playground.
Good evening. My name is Nicholas Lowe, and I live in 9 Tammy Court, Thurmont, Maryland. And I would like to install a handicap accessible picnic bench and table at the south end of the park. If more benches are required, I can only install a limited number. It may be possible whether the grass underneath the table should be removed. If the grass should not be removed, then I guess it have to be mowed. If you want me to remove the grass, then we'll have to either place down rubber chips or wood chips underneath the picnic table. We should also, I think I should use restraining belts down on the bench to prevent theft. I can also fundraise for the supplies, but I can also fundraise for the materials if it's necessary. The project will be in 2 parts. I will first assemble it at the St. Joseph's Parish Hall parking lot, and then I will transport the bench that is completed to the south end of the park to prep the ground and to set the bench.
Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Mr. Lowe, thank you for being here. This is a great project. Is there any connection between you doing this project and Eagle Scout status?
Yes, it's my Eagle Scout project.
That's terrific. Okay, so this is pretty important?
Mm-hmm.
Great, and you feel you can get this done?
Yes.
Excellent. I believe you.
Okay.
I have one
Mr.
comment.
Ritz.
Yeah, great project. Thank you very much. When this park was redone, the all-inclusive playground, I remember a few of us inquired why there weren't going to be any benches, and it was explained to us that they didn't want to put the benches in to get more participation. I still felt that the benches needed to be there, so thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Davis.
Got my support.
He's got my crystal ball.
Deep breath. Ready? You did the hard part, dude. You're good now. This is the easy part. You're going to do the fundraising yourself, or are you looking for support, or what's your plan for that?
I was informed that the bench itself could possibly be donated by the town, but other than that, like other equipment, I will need to fundraise that.
Okay. Do you have something set up for that?
Not yet.
Okay. You're going to try to do like a GoFundMe page or things of that nature?
Yes.
Okay. Would it be okay if once he sets up the GoFundMe page for us to put that on our Facebook page?
Yes.
Would that help you?
Yes.
Okay. So if we can get that onto the Facebook page, and my personal experience would be if you want to write up a nice little thing, and we'll make sure that it comes from you. explains what your what your project is, that you're going for Eagle Scout and everything, what your process is, and we'll make sure that gets on the Facebook page. Would that be helpful for you as well?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So you're looking for donations?
Yes, I am.
Okay, because I have a meeting tomorrow for the Sons of the American Legion, and most likely they will donate towards
Okay.
I just need the address and the telephone number.
Okay. Right now.
So if you get us, we'll get someone to be in contact with you for your information, for the GoFundMe page, for everything like that, and then we'll help you get that up on the Facebook page and website so that you can get the funds necessary, hopefully, for everything that you need to do.
All
And
right.
then hopefully, maybe if there's an excess, you can put an extra bench in there.
All right.
Sound good?
Yeah.
All right.
Kathy, do you know if there's what cost it is for the benches and for the table?
I'd have to look. I don't know off the top of my head which type of bench we were looking at. We have a whole book of them.
There was
So he's going to
recently one put in for Dr. Carroll. Maybe we can get the cost of that.
So you have a lot of help for this, or are you going to do this all by yourself?
I have a lot of help.
Okay, good. Not that we don't trust you.
Is the bench that you provided, is this an idea of what you're looking at?
That's
I
actually
know it's
like,
very small, sorry.
yeah. Yeah, that should be the place that we may contact and purchase it from.
This is just an example, though.
So will they be getting from playground
Possibly.
equipment?
That's actually it, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought he was building it.
Alrighty. Well, if we get a price and stuff, well, I'll get a donation towards it anyways.
Okay.
So,
Nicholas, you're building this, correct?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, he's going to build it. That's just the idea of what he wants to build.
It's an example of.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great, okay. Thank you for doing this in Emmitsburg.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lowe. It's always a pleasure.
and when do you look to start it?
Possibly after May. I would want to do
May.
that.
Do we need to vote on him doing the project?
I would take a vote to accept the project. Yes.
Okay. I need a motion to accept the project.
I'll make a motion to accept the project as presented this evening.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Ritz, second by Commissioner Burns. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any nays? Motion carries. We look forward to seeing you in May.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number B for administrative proclamation making April 4th, 2020 Arbor Day for
Want to read this?
Emmitsburg.
Arbor Day? Huh?
We do.
I want to get a good commissioner here to read the proclamation. Okay.
Proclamation making April 4th, 2020, Arbor Day, for Saturday, April 4th. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other water products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the mayor and council of the town of Emmitsburg, Maryland, do hereby proclaim April 4th, 2020 as Arbor Day in the town of Emmitsburg. We call upon all citizens and organizations to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands by planting trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this future generations. Adopted this second day of March, 2020.
I need a motion to accept the Arbor Day proclamation.
I'll make a motion to accept the Arbor Day
Maybe we'll see
proclamation.
if somebody else wants to read it. Okay.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Donald, second by Commissioner Davis. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any nays? Motion carries 5-0.
Wait,
Second proclamation
let's let somebody see if somebody-
declaring April as Fair Housing,
You're fine.
month.
May I, I'd see if another commissioner would like to read that. Commissioner Davis, Ritz.
I did my reading for the
Okay.
Commissioner O'Donnell, would you like to read it?
Sure, thank you. Proclamation declaring April 2020 as Fair Housing Month for consideration. Proclamation Fair Housing Month, April 2020. The Mayor and Council of the Town of Emmitsburg proclaim April 2020 to be Fair Housing Month. Whereas April 11th, 2020 marks the 52nd anniversary of the passage of the Fair Housing Act, which enunciates a national policy of fair housing for all who live in the United States, and whereas the Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, and national origin, and whereas the state of Maryland additionally prohibits discrimination based on marital status, sexual orientation, and gender identity, and whereas throughout Maryland, this spirit of cooperation is being provided through the efforts of our state, federal, and local governments, and with the support of countless community and nonprofit organizations. And whereas economic stability, community health, and human relations in all communities are improved by diversity and integration, and now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Mayor and Council of the Town of Emmitsburg, Maryland, do proclaim the month of April 2020 to be Fair Housing Month in Emmitsburg, to establish an inclusive community committed to fair housing and to promote appropriate activities by private and public entities intended to provide or advocate for equal housing opportunities for all residents and prospective residents of Emmitsburg.
Okay, I need a motion to accept the proclamation for the Fair Housing Month for April. Need a motion?
I propose the motion to declare April 2020 as Fair Housing Month for the town of Emmitsburg.
A second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Burns, second by Commissioner Davis. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any nays? Motion carries 5-0. Consent agenda, we have none. Treasury report.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. The Town of Emmitsburg cash activity as of February 25th, 2020. Cash balance February 1st, 2020 was in the sum of $5,425,804. Deposits were in the sum of $253,970. Withdrawals were in the amount of $212,783. The operating balance forward was, or rather is, $5,466,991. Below are the top 10 check amounts, and staff is on hand if there are questions related to these.
Any questions for the Treasury report?
I have one.
Commissioner Ritz?
And it's not what's on the list, it's what's not. I've noticed there are no checks for solar fields. Were
Just timing,
Okay,
just timing,
okay.
because we just approved, signed 2 last week, maybe, no, this week, they'll be coming this week.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other questions? Motion to accept the Treasury report as presented.
I'll make a motion to accept the treasurer's report as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Ritz, second by Commissioner Burns. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any nays? Motion carries 5-0. Planning Commission report.
Yes, Mr. President, the Planning Commission met on Monday, the 24th, to discuss and potentially vote on the site plan for Insurance Brokers of Maryland at 602 East Main Street. There were many conditions to the site plan that needed to be addressed. Therefore, we did table that until a future meeting, which I believe will be the last Monday of April. However, at the meeting, we did, the Planning Commission did approve the waiver to the requirements of Section 17.20.90C regarding the fence of the property, where, because of the zoning, we voted as a board, the B1 zoning district, to permit a waiver to the fence blocking the parking area. However, the Planning Commission did vote that the parking area for this business would be screened by shrubbery and landscaping. I believe I got all that right. All right.
Exactly right.
Anything to add?
Nope, you did a good job.
All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Any questions for planning commission report? Hearing none, we'll move on
Thank you.
to the regular agenda items. Approval of resolution 20-01R Community Development Block Grant. Citizens participating plan for consideration.
Sure. So, as you've heard in the past couple planners reports for the past couple of months, I've been working on a substantial grant to replace 117 curb ramps throughout town. 35 are located within the actual Main Street area and off streets there, and the remaining are located in front. For example, all the developments, Northgate, Southgate, etc., and also in front of the schools. Basically, I won't read too much into this, but this first resolution, all the resolutions are required for the grant. This first resolution basically states, lets the public know that we will be applying for this money. It's almost $700,000, and states that we will abide by the federal rules for public notification.
Any questions? The town planner?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
It's my understanding this is the language provided to you by the organization. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Thank you, sir.
Word by word.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I had one. I didn't mark it. That's sad. No, wait a minute. It was in the. I apologize. It was in the next resolution.
Sure.
If there's no other questions for this resolution, we need to have a motion for the resolution.
I make a motion to accept Resolution 20-02R Community Development Block Grant Residential Anti-Displacement and Relocation Assistance. Nope, sorry, correction. Mr. Ritz, you've thrown me off.
That's what I had.
No, that's all my fault. I'm sorry. Okay, my apologies. I make a motion. I withdraw the first motion partway. I make a new motion to accept Resolution 20-01R, a resolution approving the Maryland Community Development Block Grant Program Citizen Participation Plan for the town of Emmitsburg.
Motion's been made by Commissioner O'Donnell. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Commissioner Burns.
Thank you, sir.
All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any nays? Motion carries. Next resolution.
So the resolution 20-02R, it really does not have anything to do with our project. This is basically to do with projects that do brand new houses for the lower income and disability. But however, we still have to pass this resolution. Basically, it states that for whatever reason, if the contracting company would hit God forbid, hit some kind of a gas line and blow up a house, we would be required to make sure they're kept in hotels and et cetera, but it's not going to happen. Put
Okay.
it bluntly.
Any
Yeah.
questions for town planner on resolution number 2?
No question, but I compliment his faith in the crews.
It's a simple one.
Mr. Rich, you had a question for this one?
Well, yeah, it was the whole displacement. So, could you expand more on that?
Sure. So, any kind of construction project, there's going to be some kind of a risk. So for whatever reason, say, the gas company misses their misutility line, and when they're digging under the sidewalk to replace it, there's a gas line, for example, and it's hit, and it somehow damages a home to such significance that they cannot stay there. The town, by this resolution, by federal requirement, has to pay to have them stay in a motel room for so many days.
Why would the town have to do that, not the contractor who's at fault?
It would
Negligence.
be. Ultimately, we would have to go out after their insurance company, which they would pay for it. But however, it falls back on the town.
And the only reason why we're discussing this resolution is tied to the block grant.
Yeah, we're
So
correct.
if we don't accept it, we don't get the block grant.
Exactly.
This is actually good to have. Since I work for utility contractors, And Miss Utility has got a good name because they miss everything. But there
Well,
is
yeah,
a lot
by-
of stuff that they can't find in the ground.
Well, they're
Believe me,
required,
there is.
yeah, to contact them.
And
As Zach stated, it won't happen, but
but
should
it
al-
can happen. I mean, it wasn't supposed to happen, but
it could.
we tore 3 or 4 out on the last job I was in that were not marked by the Miss Utility.
Really?
They didn't even know they were there. They were old ones for old houses that were already tore down. They just never disconnected them.
And I
But
should
that
have
can happen too. So
I should have noted that when Homes for America was built, they actually applied for a community development block grant, and the town passed this same exact resolutions.
We did.
They just expire every 5 years.
Okay.
That was
Was
2013.
that before I was in?
It is.
Yeah.
any other questions?
No, just,
He's really not.
yeah, hopefully it won't happen.
We'll be safe. Trust me.
I just, without naming names, just trying to go after negligence in the past. Okay.
Hearing any, no one has any more questions? I need a motion to accept the 20-2R, 02R.
I make a motion to accept the resolution 20-02R Community Development Block Grant Residential Anti-Displacement and Relocation Assistance Plan.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Burns, second by Commissioner O'Donnell. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any nays? Motion carries 5-0. Next resolution, 20-05R.
Sure. So this is our last one, and I'm going to try to explain this the best of my ability. So I did some research about this because it is a unique one. So the federal government, when they give grants out to state and local governments, they reach their tentacles as far as they can go. So basically, back in the 60s and 70s, when the civil rights protests and peaceful protests were occurring, I'm assuming there was problems with police brutality in those times. So one way that the federal government stops those kind of actions at the local level is they attach these conditions of approval. So this is basically the town stating that if there is a non-violent civil rights protest at one of its locations, i.e. here, the police cannot detain them if it has to be peaceful. It can't be violent. So it's just one of those conditions that they placed on their grants. So that's the best I could explain it.
It's one that they still have out on the books as long as it's been.
It's been since 1974. It's just something. It's an executive order, and it's never been rescinded from the presidents.
Any questions for Zach? Commissioner O'Donnell.
Sort of being redundant, but again, this is the language provided to us by the fund source. correct?
100%.
Great, thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Commissioner Ritz.
What if the demonstration turns violent?
They absolutely have a right to take them to jail.
And they get detained.
Good.
Any other questions?
It's just odd. I just find this odd.
It is on.
I can understand the utilities.
Is essentially this just
Protects the town.
making us remind Deputy White House not to do anything stupid?
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Deputy, should we approve this? You've made it. We have great faith in you, sir.
And this is just a policy that we're voting on, though. It says
So basically, by adopting it, you're protecting the town. What the sheriff's office or state police would do outside of this resolution would fall on them. This
Yes,
is just
exactly.
protecting the town that we say we don't permit this.
We don't condone it, yeah.
It's our policy to prohibit it. They're contracted by us.
Right.
And
I need a motion to approve the resolution.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 20-05R, a resolution of the Town of Emmitsburg, Maryland, adopting a policy for the protection of individuals engaging in nonviolent civil rights demonstrations, repealing all resolutions in conflict herewith, and providing for an effective date.
Motion's been made by Commissioner O'Donnell. Is there a second?
I second it.
Thank you.
Second by Commissioner Burns. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any nays? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, everybody.
Alrighty, moving on. Number 4, amendment to the pool management contract.
That's me.
Kathy?
Yes, in the end of December of 2019, our current pool contractors, as you remember, we signed a 3-year contract with the pool company. They sent an addendum requesting a change to the contract for 2 reasons. One was the change in minimum wage that was passed by the state earlier in 2019 that went in effect January 1st of this year. And also, the school board changed their opening and closing days. They originally were supposed to open first day of school after Labor Day. However, they changed that to the end of August, so the contractor's unable to supply or provide staff for that week because their students will be back in school. So basically, the number of calendar days have been reduced from 94 days to 89 days due to the change in the calendar year. So this season will run consecutively from Saturday, June 13th through Sunday, August 30th. We will do weekends only and holidays, Memorial Day weekend, and then
Labor Day week.
Saturday, June 6th, Sunday, June 7th, and then again Labor Day weekend. The pool will close the week of Monday, August 31st through Friday, September 4th due to school. With a 90-cent minimum wage increase from $10.10 to $11 after January 1st, 2020. They're looking for a $138 increase in their contract for the year 2020. This was more to bring it to the board's attention, and with the slight contract change and the change in the calendar days, I just need approval to, the mayor needs approval to sign the addendum. I would imagine there's going to be a change in 2021 due to the minimum wage, but they won't really know that until the school board decides what days they're going to be open.
I make a motion, we approve the amendment to the pool contract.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Davis, second by Commissioner Ritz. Is there any other questions for staff before we vote?
Yes, sir.
Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any nays? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Item number 5. Ordinance Amendment Code
This is
20-3.
Right, this is for discussion. It's a 2-part package. It's an update to the small cell tower ordinance, as well as policy 20-02. As most of you know, and Commissioner O'Donnell particularly, there's a lot of legislation at the MML level regarding the small cell tower facilities that are starting to come into municipalities. A lot of municipalities don't have ordinances or code to protect themselves against these entities coming in and putting their towers or their facilities wherever they want in town. So I reached out to, Zach and I reached out to MML, got a lot of recommendations of other municipalities that have already developed their ordinances. And then I had Leslie Powell's office draft an ordinance related to small cell towers. And we can just go through it. Basically what they said, we were in pretty good shape already. We just had to add some language throughout it. And you'll see cosmetically, most of it's cosmetic. We changed lowercase town to uppercase town. On page 39 of the ordinance, we added the definition for small wireless facility, which means a wireless facility that is mounted on a structure 50 feet or less in height, or on a structure no more than 10% taller than adjacent structures within an antenna no more than 3 cubic feet, and total wireless equipment no more than 28 cubic feet. So it's really restricting the height of what these small cell facilities can be. On page 40, we just added to the definition of wireless telecommunication facilities, basically added small wireless facilities, personal wireless facility, and telecommunication tower. Because we did not have in our ordinance anything that addressed small cell towers, or small wireless facilities, excuse me. Page 42 added the language, small wireless facility in number 11 and number 13. On page 43, letter K, we added in the case of a new tower, and then we outlined what the applicant shall furnish visual impact assessment, which shall include, and it lists what they need to include in their assessment. And again, we add small wireless facility on page 47. And then page 48 is where they added significant language, and that's the height of telecommunication towers. Letter D, small wireless facilities must be located at a minimum height of 15 feet above grade. All small wireless facilities must adhere to the standards set forth in policy 2020-02, small wireless facility standards. And we'll go over that after this. And then it went through D, all wireless telecommunication facilities shall utilize stealth or camouflage sighting techniques that are acceptable to the town unless such can be shown to be commercially impracticable. Let's see, what else here? All visible small wireless, letter G, wireless facilities placed on a structure must be painted with non-reflective paint of the same color as the structure on which it is sited so that the installation closely matches the existing paint. Again, they must adhere to policy 20-02. One of the things that the attorney stressed, that the idea is these companies need to know what the regulations are up front. They can't be hidden. They have to be out in the open. And that's what we try to do in the ordinance as well as the policy. Page 51, in the case of an application for small wireless facilities, the town shall review an application for collection of a small wireless facility on an existing structure within 60 days, and a review of an application for a placement of a small wireless facility on a new structure within 90 days. So it gives us a significant review period because these applications are going to be very technical. Page 52, we added if the wireless telecommunications facility is located on private property, a copy of the lease or consent of the property owner must be provided to the town. On page 53, after this was completed, Zach and I met and we discussed this as well as a discussion with the attorney. On page 53, it's the application fee. We would like to strike all of that and simply state permit fees are to be established from time to time by policy, resolution, or ordinance by the town and shall be paid at the time of application. We currently have a policy that sets all the review fees. We'd just like to include that in there, and that way a policy can be updated from time to time. And then And that's pretty much for the ordinance, all the significant changes outside of being cosmetic for the small wireless facilities. Do you want to talk about the ordinance, or you want to jump to the policy?
Any questions for staff for the ordinance?
No questions. I just want to throw in one other piece on this, and thank you, staff, for digging in on this, and thank you to MML for your efforts on this. Again, this kind of came out of last summer's MML meeting regarding these devices, and the first thing I want to say is, as a person advocating for this type of regulation, I'm not against these things, but where they're placed. Right now, any company has a free hand, or did have a free hand, more or less, where they could cite these. And that takes away our autonomy as a municipal government. The other piece is if we're trying to protect sensitive areas that have an historic quality to them, like our Main Street, like our downtown, we lose that when we have some of these things placed in inappropriate places. They are valuable, they are useful, and technology is making them smaller. So hopefully this will be a non-issue as we move forward. But right now, these are sizable things, and aesthetically, they're not terribly attractive. So they would reduce the quality of the streetscape, in my opinion, but I think maybe you would agree with me if you were to see some of these. The other side of it is I really appreciate the stealth component and the idea of making them agree with the vernacular of the community. That's pretty strong. And I didn't see this when I was looking through this, and this is, I guess, a question that came to mind tonight. I understand the review fee, but is there a permitting fee?
There
Because
will,
I didn't,
yeah, there will be, and that's what's going to be established in the review of policy. That's where that change came from. That's why we struck out that whole section.
Okay.
And there'll be permitted fees and review fees that we'll bring to you next month.
thank you. Mr. Sweeney, that's it from me.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Ritz?
Just to make sure, I guess we've had this discussion with the town attorney. Is there any way that the FCC could come back and
Override it?
override it or act on behest of the individual who wants to place this? Because it would be in their interest for this to be placed.
So,
Probably. We didn't have those discussions, and I know that's why the push with MML right now is for all these municipalities to get it passed and get ahead of it before the FCC intervenes or any other entity may try to intervene. Obviously, our code could be overruled at some point, but as long as we have this in place now, at least it protects us for the time being.
No, and I agree.
And I
So
wouldn't, I
thank you.
would not, I would probably guarantee you might see a push by the FCC at some point, because all the municipalities are frantically trying to get this done. I know PG County, their smaller municipalities are having one heck of a fight right now because they didn't have it in place.
Any other questions?
Just one.
Commissioner Burns?
Obviously, we're talking to the lawyer, and you're mentioning the FCC. Given our location to certain government installations, do you think it's going to be a harder fight for us, given our location, with telecommunications obviously being
Right.
the main and everything like that? Would they step in and say when and where, or can we regulate
As of-
additional?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Just additionally, like, obviously keep them off Main Street, but give different areas, and then also with small businesses obviously being able to profit off of something of this nature, putting it on their
Right.
property and stuff like that. Obviously, this is something we want in place, but
As of right now, I think we'd be protected, and I think those larger entities would have to petition the state or other agencies to intervene on their behalf, which we know that takes a long time. I guess anything's possible.
Mr. Sweeney, just to throw in
Commissioner O'Donnell?
for Mr. Burns. Mr. Burns, as was explained to me at MML, so I'm relying on what they provided. These are used for a high density of users. So if you have a larger and more dense population of wireless users, that's really where these add value. So right now, in relationship to our population density, we don't have that demand, so we're kind of out of the bullseye. However, yeah, that federal component related to, areas, area federal facilities, there certainly could be some like support need or repeaters, kind of like what the.
I mean, with the advent of 5G, and obviously it's pushing into outside the cities and things of that nature. I mean,
Correct.
this would be something that they would, you'd see the Verizons, the AT&Ts, and everybody trying to
Right.
broaden their hand over a larger area.